This is Las Vegas Real Estate Now with local real estate expert Harvey Blankfeld.
Where we want to educate you about our market, empower you to make wise decisions, and help you engage with our expert contributors.
Today, we have a special guest for you guys, and I want to introduce you to Danielle Hess. Danielle, say hello.
Hi, everyone.
Danielle's our newest partner at the Brown Blankfeld Group, and she's been doing real estate here in Southern Nevada since 1827. Is that right, Danielle? No?
About that.
Not quite that far back. This week, again, this is weekly data, guys, and this is only single-family homes. So this week, right now, we have 5,163 single-family homes available, and that's down 78 from last week. The last couple weeks, you saw it kind of creeping around the same number. This week, it went down again. Now, in the last 7 days, we put 844 single-family homes in escrow. That's down only 39 from last week. We closed 628 single-family homes. That's up 3 from last week. We had 272 withdrawn. Now, this is a little weird. Just if I go back in the weeks prior and I look, I don't see any week where it went to even 200. And I'm going to scroll back. Yeah, 160, 150, 170. There was 1 week back in May where it was 198. But prior to that, it was very, very low numbers in the 170s. All of a sudden, this week, it went to 272. I can't even imagine why all of a sudden it would have jumped up. Danielle, any thoughts on that?
Well, May was when we were on lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah, but...
it might be the same since kids went back to school.
Yeah, could be. 272, up. It's up 100 from last week. So that's the first time we've seen any kind of a jump like that in the withdrawns. But if you go back, Danielle, if we go back 6 months, that's when the whole thing started, right?
6 months.
It was back in
Six
March,
months ago to date.
right? So maybe those people who listed going into the COVID and maybe who've been overpriced throughout this process said, yeah, never mind, I'm out, and pulled their houses off the market. That could be part of it. Perhaps. I mean, we don't really know. The other thing, I mean, it's only a week's worth of data, so a week's worth of data is not something to get too alarmed about. The median sold price went to $336,457. That's up $6,000 over last week. Again, when we talk about median sold price, guys, to me, a weekly sample is not sufficient to see it. But we have seen this trend landing in the 330s for the last 4 weeks. So that's, we're seeing good numbers in terms of median sale price. What's interesting this week is that the median sold price per square foot is $180. It's the first time we've seen that. And that's up almost $4 from last week, which is a pretty significant number. So what that means to me is that we're actually seeing the prices of some of the mid-range properties come up too. I mean, that when you see that median price per square foot go up, to me, that's a much more significant number than the actual median price itself, because the median price could be based on the mix. In other words, Danielle, maybe a couple of $6 million homes closed this past week, and they can knock the whole thing out of whack. Now, median's supposed to take out the high and the low. I understand that, but if there's enough of them, it could skew the numbers. What are you seeing in the market right now, Danielle? What are you seeing as you're out there with buyers and sellers?
Well, this weekend was fiercely competitive,
right,
in all price ranges.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're seeing a shortage.
Yeah.
And I think buyers are feeling it too.
We've even seen it in the rental market. Like I said, you go to see a house, and then CJ said she has people lining up. We're getting 4 or 5 applications at a time.
Wow.
Everybody's just...
By the way, that third voice is Carly Ames. She's our team
She
manager.
should definitely be on camera.
No.
Right? No.
I'm the behind the scenes.
She's behind the scenes. She likes to,
We love Carly.
lurk. She lurks. I want to say that I've seen the same thing too. We took some listings. They all sold right away. All but one of them sold right away. We had things turn really, really quick. The inventory stayed kind of low. The inventory's low. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's really tough on buyers.
Especially if they're really specific to a certain area.
Yeah.
There's just not as much out there as there once was.
There isn't. And I don't want to discourage anybody from buying, because I think it's a good time to be buying, because interest rates are crazy good. I mean, we've been talking about good interest rates for the last 10 years, but these interest rates are crazy good. Under 3%, which is, unheard of. It's just nuts. So take advantage of that. Let's talk about tenants and this eviction moratorium going away. September 1st, the eviction moratorium expires. Landlords and tenants need to have discussion about how they're going to handle whatever rents haven't been paid. Tenants need to understand that that money has not been forgiven. The money's still due. Landlords need to understand that tenants, most of the time, will not be able to just write you a check for all the money that they haven't been able to pay. There was a reason they couldn't pay. The governor's office and the state attorney generals put together an addendum that we can utilize to pay the back rent. The governor has insisted that there be no penalties or interest applied to that. So as a landlord, you can, if you need a copy of that document and you're managing the property yourself, you'd like a copy of that, reach out to us. We'll get it to you. As property managers, we're using it. We just started to negotiate with a couple of our tenants, and we're getting them to take care of that. And look, we want it to be reasonable. We don't want anybody to feel undue pressure. But we also know that landlords, they've got bills to pay. I mean, and they've been paying the bills without rent for a while. It's a challenge for them too.
Well, I don't think they should be embarrassed. And a lot of
No.
people, they're just like, they don't want to communicate. So I think communication's key.
That's a
And
great
just being
point.
That is a great
open
point.
and saying, you know what, I'm still having hard times.
Yeah.
This is being lifted, but how do we work together? Can I make a payment plan? I mean, trying to structure it. Obviously they're still due. Rent's going to be due on the 1st, but if they have back payments and they can't afford it, coming forth and saying, I can't afford it, so what do we do?
Yeah, work out a
Instead
plan.
of just avoiding it.
That's
And
the
then,
best thing you could do.
And the way they structured this addendum is that they've made the payment plan something that ideally a tenant could afford. It's going to be like another car payment or something like that instead of another rent payment. But here's the thing that tenants also have to know. If you owe $5,000 and you're only going to pay back $300 a month, it's going to take you a lot of months to pay that back. That's 25 months to pay that back. So that's longer than your lease probably. So keep that under consideration. And, when the lease expires, does that go away? No, it doesn't go away. It's still owed. So keep that in mind also. So make sure you're paying as much as you can afford so that should you want to move, not that you can't move, but you're still going to owe the money. So if you want to move, you've got freedom to do so. If the lease expires before the payment plan does, what do you do? That's going to be a challenge. The money's still due.
It's an agreement.
That agreement basically says you owe that money. Now, maybe you're going to say, well, I'm just going to stay here. That's fine. That's good. Stay there until it's paid off and extend the lease. And that's fine, too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Maybe they increase the rent by several $100s to try to offset it.
The landlord, well, look, I think that what happens, once you have that agreement in place, that's for past rents. Any future rents are negotiable. If the landlord thinks it's necessary to raise the rent, that's going to be an interesting point twist too, Daniela, because if I'm a landlord and I know this tenant owes me and they're making payments that are going to take 25 months to get paid back, I might be a little more reluctant to raise the rent because that may push them out, and now I got to go chase them somewhere else. I don't know. These are the discussions that you got to have.
No, I was thinking if they owe an extra $2,000 and they're paying $1,000 in rent, maybe they pay, if they're able to pay, $1,500 or $1,200 to try to play catch up.
Get it done quickly.
Because it starts to snowball really quickly.
Yeah.
All the rent and
And on top of, with the last couple of months, you haven't been able to increase any rents. But what we've seen with the comps that we pull for rentals, rents are going up.
Yeah.
So that is a tough call. So do you raise the rent knowing that they do that? Maybe they won't want to extend their lease. So then you are chasing them if they no longer live in your home.
Yeah, and we manage a little over 170 properties or so, and we've only had two tenants that didn't pay. We've been, I'm knocking on wood.
Thankfully.
I'm knocking on wood right now.
that's a good vetting process up front, huh?
Must be. I'd love to say that we're brilliant at what we do, but I think we're a little bit lucky too.
Please join us again next week as we keep you up to date on everything real estate here in Southern Nevada. Remember, send me any questions or ideas for next week's broadcast. Tune in every Thursday at 3. Also, please let your friends and family know to like our Facebook page and be reminded about our updates at LV Real Estate Radio. We'll catch you next week. Thanks again for joining us.